Hello everyone, this story is all about Mr. Tea and Mrs. Coffee. I hope you like it. Here we go. This is Mr. Tea and this is Mrs. Coffee. They both have 2 eyes, 2 arms and 2 legs, just like you and me. They can walk and talk. Have you ever met Talkie Coffee? They live together in a country called Foodland, which is a place full of funny looking houses. Mr. Tea and Mrs. Coffee's house is funny looking. It looks just like a teapot, of course. They own the Foodland Cafe, which sits comfortably between the bakery and the butcher's in the town centre. This is the story of how Mr. Tea and Mrs. Coffee became owners of the cafe. Our story begins before Mr. Tea and Mrs. Coffee had arrived in Foodland. Back then, the town centre looked very different. There was no supermarket or bowling alley. The arcades used to be a greengrocer's, and Mrs. Scoop's ice cream factory was an old shoe shop. The town centre looked old and tired. What it needed was something fresh and new to brighten the place up and attract more shoppers. Everyone in Foodland agreed that the town centre needed cheering up, so they set up a meeting in the town hall so people could express their ideas to improve it. Mr. Biscuit, who ran the bakery in town, was in charge of the meeting. "Good evening, everyone," he smiled. "This is a very important moment for our town. We want as many wonderful ideas as possible to improve it. All of the most popular ideas will be forwarded and voted for by a public vote," he said. There were a lot of possible suggestions, including a toy shop, a shop for musical instruments, and a clothes shop. That was Miss Nugget's idea. She liked buying clothes. She was a shopaholic. Unfortunately, there were a lot of empty, unused buildings in the town centre. "We need to fill these spaces with something that everybody likes," added Mr. Biscuit. Just then, sitting in the crowd, Mr. Mash stood up. He had an excellent idea. Mr. Mash always came up with excellent ideas. That's probably why he's a teacher. "What about a coffee shop or a cafe?" he said. "The town centre doesn't have one. Everyone likes a cup of tea or coffee in the mornings. Maybe we should use one of the empty shops and use it for that." There was a big gasp of excitement in the hall. Mr. Mash's idea was perfect. "But who's going to run a cafe? Nobody here knows how," said Mr. Biscuit. "Aha!" replied Mr. Mash. "I know the perfect couple who could do it. They live in Drinkland and are looking to move here very soon. I shall give them a call," he said. So as Mr. Mash made the call, the rest of the congregation voted of whether or not to have a new cafe in the town centre. It was an easy decision. Everyone in the room voted yes. Now, all they had to do was wait for Mr. Mash to let them know if he got an answer on his phone. There was a hush of silence. "So, Mr. Mash, what did they say?" asked Mr. Biscuit eagerly. "They said yes! They will be here in Foodland in a couple of days to start their new life as owners of the Foodland Cafe," he said. The crowd cheered. "Hooray! That's excellent news," said Mr. Biscuit excitedly. A couple of days later, Mr. Tea and Mrs. Coffee arrived in Foodland. First, they moved into their funny-looking house, shaped like a teapot. Then, they signed the contract to officially become the new owners of the Foodland Cafe. They were both very excited. Foodland was buzzing again. After a fresh lick of paint and some brand new signs, Mr. Biscuit officially opened the new cafe. "I'm very proud and pleased to welcome Mr. Tea and Mrs. Coffee to our town," he said. "It's so lovely to have them with us. I hope you enjoy your new cafe." Mr. Tea was looking forward to starting a new life in Foodland and making lots of new friends. So too was Mrs. Coffee, who already had a queue of thirsty individuals waiting for her at the counter. "Goodness me," she smiled happily. "I better get serving my lovely new customers," she said. Over time, the town centre improved, with lots of new shops being opened. Mrs. Scoop transformed the old shoe shop into her ice cream factory. That is still the busiest shop in town today. A new supermarket was built, along with a bowling alley and arcades. There was also a toy shop, a music shop, and most importantly of all, a clothes shop. Miss Nugget spends all day in there. She loves to shop. In fact, she loves the clothes shop so much, she bought it. Now that's what I call a shopaholic. Ha ha! And that is the end of the story. I hope you enjoyed it. We'll see you next time.